Have you ever noticed how financial collapses don't feel dangerous while they're happening? They usually feel exciting, profitable, even intelligent. In 1929, right before the Great Depression, most people didn't think they were standing on the edge of history's worst economic collapse. They believed they were living in a new era of permanent growth. That belief is where the real story begins. Let's step back into the 1920s. The United States was booming, industrial production surged, automobiles became common, radios entered homes, consumer credit expanded, stock prices climbed aggressively year after year. Optimism wasn't irrational, it was reinforced daily, but something subtle was happening beneath the surface. People weren't just investing in stocks, they were buying stocks on margin. That means they borrowed money to invest. If you had $1,000, you could borrow $9,000 and control $10,000 worth of shares. As long as prices kept rising, it felt intelligent. But here's the math. If the market falls 10%, that $10,000 position becomes $9,000. You still owe $9. 000. Your entire $1,000 is gone. A 10% market drop becomes a 100% personal loss. Now imagine millions of investors operating like this. When stock prices began falling in October 1929, brokers issued margin calls. Investors had to either deposit more money or sell. Most didn't have extra cash, so they sold. Forced selling pushed prices down further, which triggered more margin calls. This wasn't just a market correction, it was a leverage collapse. Banks had also lent aggressively, credit expansion fueled speculation, asset prices had detached from underlying earnings, confidence cracked and leverage magnified the damage. The Great Depression wasn't triggered by one bad day, it was triggered by a system stretched thin under borrowed optimism, and here's the uncomfortable part. That dynamic doesn't belong only to 1929. It belongs to human behavior. In the next part, let's bring this forward and look at why the structure feels familiar today. Now let's shift to a modern setting. Imagine a 29-year-old professional in Chicago or London or Munich. After taxes, they bring home around $4,200 per month. Rent is $1,700. Car payment is $450. Insurance and utilities add another $500. Student loans, $350. Credit card minimums, $200. Food, subscriptions, social life, around $900. By the end of the month, maybe a few $100s remain. Nothing here looks reckless. It looks normal, responsible, even. But here's the quiet vulnerability. They are operating on thin margin. If $4,200 comes in and $3,900 goes out, that's roughly a 7% cushion. A small disruption, job loss, reduced hours, interest rate changes, medical expense doesn't require catastrophe. It only requires friction. And friction is enough when your financial margin is narrow. Today, most households aren't borrowing to buy stocks on margin. They're borrowing to maintain lifestyle, 6-year car loans, high mortgage approvals at maximum qualification limits, buy now pay later for consumer goods, credit cards bridging the gap between income and expectation. The mechanism is different, but the assumption is similar. Income will remain stable, asset prices will remain elevated, growth will continue. The psychology behind this is predictable. Humans project recent trends into the future. If the last decade showed rising home values and steady employment, the mind quietly assumes permanence. We also anchor to peers. If coworkers upgrade homes, stretching feels reasonable. If credit is accessible, using it feels normal. If everyone appears stable, risk feels invisible. In 1929, buying stocks on margin wasn't viewed as reckless, it was modern. Today, maximizing borrowing capacity isn't viewed as dangerous. It's common. Financially intelligent people don't build decisions around what feels normal. They build around what survives volatility. They don't ask, can I afford this if everything goes well? They ask, does this still work if things slow down? The Great Depression exposed how much prosperity had been financed by leverage. The lesson wasn't that growth is bad. It was that fragile systems look strong until they're tested. History doesn't repeat in identical form, but it often rhymes through behavior. The goal isn't fear, it's awareness. If this perspective helped you think more clearly about today's financial environment, consider subscribing, not for predictions, just for clarity.